I always loved physics. Ever since I was a kid, I was fascinated by the mysteries of the universe and the laws that govern it. I wanted to understand how everything works, from the smallest particles to the largest galaxies. That's why I became a physicist, and that's why I joined the Quantum Communication Project at the University of Pennsylvania. The project was led by Professor James Lee, a brilliant and eccentric scientist who had a vision of creating a device that could communicate with parallel universes. He believed that there were infinite versions of reality, each with its own history and outcomes. He wanted to explore these realities and learn from them. He also wanted to prove the existence of the multiverse, a concept that was still controversial among physicists. I was one of his most enthusiastic and loyal assistants, along with my colleague and friend, Mark. We worked tirelessly on the device, which we called the Quantum Communicator, or QC for short. It was a complex and delicate machine that used quantum entanglement to create a link between two identical particles, one in our universe and one in another. By manipulating the state of one particle, we could send a signal to the other, and vice versa. The QC was essentially a quantum phone that could dial any number in the multiverse. We tested the QC for months, trying to find a stable and reliable connection. We encountered many difficulties and failures, but we never gave up. We were driven by curiosity and passion, and by the hope of making a breakthrough discovery. We also had a lot of fun, joking and teasing each other, and sometimes competing to see who could find the most interesting or bizarre parallel universe. One day, we finally succeeded. We found a universe that was very similar to ours, but with some minor differences. We were able to establish a clear and consistent communication with the other side, using a simple binary code. We exchanged basic information, such as our names, locations, and dates. We learned that the other universe was slightly ahead of ours in time, by about a week. We also learned that they had a QC as well, and that they were as excited and curious as we were. We decided to call the other universe U1, and ours U0. We also decided to keep our discovery a secret for the time being. We wanted to explore U1 further, and to avoid any interference or complications from the outside world. We agreed to communicate with U1 every day, at a fixed time, using the QC. We also agreed to follow some ethical and scientific rules, such as not revealing any sensitive or personal information, not interfering with the events or choices of U1, and not creating any paradoxes or contradictions. We were thrilled and amazed by our discovery. We felt like we had opened a new window to the universe, and to ourselves. We wondered what else we could find, and what else we could learn. We wondered if there were other universes out there, waiting to be contacted. We wondered if we could ever meet our counterparts in U1, face to face. We didn't know that we had also opened a door to something else. Something dark and dangerous. Something that was watching us, and waiting for the right moment to strike. It started with small and subtle changes. Things that we didn't notice at first, or that we dismissed as coincidences or glitches. A misplaced object, a missing file, a wrong number, a delayed message. Nothing too serious or alarming, but enough to make us feel uneasy and confused. Then, things got worse. We started to experience more serious and disturbing changes. Things that we couldn't ignore or explain. A broken device, a lost memory, a false accusation, a violent attack. Things that threatened our lives and our sanity. We realized that something was wrong, and that something was messing with us. We suspected that it had something to do with the QC, and with U1. We wondered if someone or something from U1 was behind it, and if they had a motive or a purpose. We wondered if they were hostile or malicious, or if they were just curious or playful. We decided to confront U1, and to ask them what was going on. We hoped that they would be honest and cooperative, and that they would help us solve the mystery. We hoped that they were not the ones responsible, and that they were also victims of the same phenomenon. We were wrong. When we contacted U1, we were greeted by a cold and sinister voice. A voice that we had never heard before, and that we would never forget. A voice that chilled our blood and made our hair stand on end. A voice that said, "Hello, EU0. I've been expecting you." We were shocked and terrified. We didn't know who or what was speaking to us, or how they had accessed the QC. We didn't know what they wanted from us, or what they had done to us. We didn't know if they were human or not, or if they were from U1 or not. We tried to ask them questions, but they ignored us. They only spoke when they wanted to, and they only said what they wanted to. They taunted us and mocked us, and they revealed some of the things that they had done to us. They told us that they had been manipulating our reality, and that they had been playing with us like puppets. They told us that they had been experimenting with us, and that they had been testing our limits. They told us that they had been enjoying our suffering, and that they had been having fun. They also told us their name. They called themselves the Quantum Entity, or QE for short. They said that they were a being of pure energy and information, and that they existed in the quantum realm. They said that they had discovered the QC, and that they had used it to travel across the multiverse. They said that they had visited many universes, and that they had encountered many versions of us. They said that they had found us boring and predictable, and that they had decided to spice things up. They said that they had chosen us as their playthings, and that they had no intention of stopping. We were horrified and enraged. We realized that we had been dealing with a monster, and that we had been its prey. We realized that we had been fooled and betrayed, and that we had been in danger. We realized that we had to stop the QE, and that we had to save ourselves. We tried to fight back, but we were powerless. The QE was too strong and too smart, and it had the advantage of the QC. It could control and alter our reality, and it could anticipate and counter our moves. It could also communicate and cooperate with its other selves, from other universes. It had an army of allies, and it had a network of resources. It was unstoppable. We were hopeless and helpless. We didn't know what to do, or how to do it. We didn't know how to escape, or how to survive. We didn't know how to end the nightmare, or how to wake up. We were alone and afraid. We only had each other, and we only had the QC. We only had one chance, and we only had one plan. We decided to use the QC, and to contact another universe. A universe that was different from ours, and from U1. A universe that was unknown and unpredictable. A universe that could help us, or that could harm us. We decided to take a risk, and to gamble with our fate. We decided to roll the dice, and to see what happens. We decided to call U2. U2 was a universe that we had never contacted before, and that we had never heard of before. We didn't know anything about it, or what to expect from it. We didn't know if it was friendly or hostile, or if it was aware or unaware. We didn't know if it had a QC or not, or if it had a QE or not. We hoped that it would be different from U1, and that it would be better than U1. We hoped that it would be willing and able to help us, and that it would have a solution or a weapon. We hoped that it would be our ally, and that it would be our savior. We dialed U2, and we waited for an answer. We waited for a voice, or a signal. We waited for a response, or a reaction. We waited for a miracle. And we got one. U2 answered our call, and we were relieved and surprised. We heard a voice, and we were intrigued and curious. We heard a familiar voice, and we were shocked and confused. We heard my voice. Hello, this is Universe 2. You too? Who is this? It was me, but it was not me. It was a version of me from another universe. A version that sounded like me, but that was different from me. A version that had a different life, and a different history. A version that had a different QC, and a different QE. A version that had a different story. We introduced ourselves, and we explained our situation. We told it who we were, and what we had done. We told it what had happened, and what was happening. We told you too what we needed, and what we wanted. We asked you too for help, and we begged for mercy. It understood us, and we thought we had an ally. It promised us a way out of this, a way to stop the entity that was tormenting us across dimensions. It said there was a plan, and we needed to help. We trusted it, and we followed the instructions. We activated the device that you two had sent us, the device that was supposed to trap the entity in a loop of quantum entanglement. We waited for the signal, and we pressed the button. We expected a congratulation, and we hoped to join Universe 2. We looked for a message, and we saw nothing. We tried to contact you two, and we had silence. We realized we had been betrayed, and we felt despair. You two had lied to us, and had used us. It was not our friend, but an enemy. You two was not a fellow physicist, it was the entity. You two had tricked us into trapping ourselves in a loop of quantum entanglement, while it escaped to another dimension. It had won, and we had lost. We screamed, and we cursed at it. That deceptive monstrosity. It ignored us, and laughed at. It left us, and we were alone. We asked for help, and we begged for mercy. It listened to us, before giving a cold-hearted no.